I'm out of breath because I just carried an engine in from the house. I got the Probe's engine back today. Well, the bottom half of it. Let's take a look at it all. Around, and here we go. Here's the block. Completely bead blasted, cleaned inside and out. I don't know if you can see through the plastic there, but the rings have been file fitted and are just sitting in the holes waiting to go in the pistons. We've got the crankshaft, and what's special, this is the original crankshaft. We had it fixed. That is a forged crankshaft, unlike the cast one that caused so much trouble. Got some those are the lower block bolts. Those are necessary. Here's some oil feed restrictors for the heads. They need new O-rings. We'll put those on. Here are our K1 rods. The machine shop balanced all these. So these K1 rods, the pistons are under here from Carrillo. Let's get down here. Ugh. Take a look at these because they are artwork. Let's flip this around. There we go. There's my build sheet. If anybody needs pistons, CP Carrillo now has a stock replacement piston. Let's look around here. We've got, these are spiral locks for the wrist pins. Those are oil rings. And then here are the pistons. And you can see the weight is written on them there. These were all balanced. So the rods all balanced out to the same weight with some minor grinding. And all of the pistons see that there, over to this one, 305, 305, 305. So one of these pistons was a half a gram light. Right, that is some crazy tolerances on the machining. So you know that's perfect. So these are all matched. Here are the pins. We're using a 20 millimeter pin. Will that focus? We're using a 20 millimeter pin. The piston manufacturer, Carrillo, told me that a 20 millimeter pin just wasn't going to live at 30 psi. And when I told them I'm going to be running like 10, they were like, oh, you're good, it's fine. So let's get this block on the engine stand and start getting some bearings in it and get the crank together. I'll have to find my book. Ooh, let's go find the book. So there's no performance build guide for a KL, right? So what we're gonna do here is I got my Haynes manual right here. 66 MX and Ford Probe. That's right. So we're going to be using the Haynes Repair Manual's overhaul procedures for this because it's the best one I could find. Let's get started. Okay, we've got this block apart. Now, this is going to look a lot different than the last time you saw the inside of this motor, or, well, it wasn't this motor. Last time you saw the inside of one of these motors, because this is all in one piece. So we've got a fresh cut and hone. Machine shop beveled the edges for us. We've bored it out to 85 millimeters. And the reason we bored out to 85, we didn't have to go that far because of the block condition. When we were doing the custom pistons, Carrillo had a ring set for a 4G63, the Mitsubishi motor. that was 85 millimeters. So we bored it out to 85 so we could use an off-the-shelf ring set instead of having to pay buku money for a custom ring set. So anyway, you can see the oil feeds. I got little restrictors in there. This was all bead blasted and thoroughly cleaned, so it's ready for assembly. Looking over here, this is the girdle. Now, if you watched my disassembly video of the engine we blew up at the Time Trials Nationals, this was all in, it was gone. It was destroyed. There's nothing left. But here now we can actually take a look at what this girdle is made of. You can see we've got steel main caps pressed in to an aluminum girdle. This is some pretty fancy stuff here, especially for a economy engine from the 90s. You know, this was race car stuff back then. You'd see this kind of stuff in a modern performance engine for sure, but a modern performance engine's $27,000. So, you know, again, this was all bead blasted, and it's ready for assembly. So I'm going to go get the bearings. We're going to set the bearings in. We're going to set the crank in. We're going to torque the girdle down with some plastic gauge to verify the main bearing clearances. Now, my machinist over at Bell Motor Works, Tom Bell, literally his work is almost always perfect. I mean, it's always been perfect when I've had work with him, but you should always double check. So that's what we're going to do right now, is we're going to get the bearings, set them in the saddles, drop that crank in, drop that on, and check the clearances. I do have some plastic gauge, and that will make sure we'll have a go, no go on continuing assembly. Well, so this is funny. I got a couple pieces of plastic gauge in place. I opened up my plastic gauge package, and the rest of it is gone. There's a little piece there. I guess it must have fallen out. But if it fell out into here, I don't want to use it because it's contaminated. So we're gonna have to run to the parts store and get some more plastic gauge.
1 hour later.
Alright, we struck out at O'Reilly, but AutoZone had it. So let's finish checking these bearings. We have done our due diligence. let's get our key here. Let's see what our thicknesses are, right? That's 0.051. Are we on? That's the millimeter clearance. Flip that over. 0.002. 0.002. 0.002. 0.002. All right, so every single one of them was 0.002, and we've actually got residue on these caps that matches. All right. Now, hold on, let's check this. All right, so that's. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the millimeter scale again. Stay consistent, folks. Yeah, 0.002. So let's let me set this camera down for a second. I gotta move this block half out of the way. Let's set this down right here. Not to step on it. Alright, we've got general overhaul procedures. Get over here. Alright, V6 engine. Engine block, crankshaft, and connecting rod side clearance. Don't care right now, we're not there. Okay, bearing oil clearance. Standard is 0.0015 to 0.0022, and we were at 0.002, which is precisely in the middle of the range. So our main oil clearance is fine. We're going to clean the plastic gauge off the bearings, and we can actually lube them up and install the crank for real now. We got the lower half installed, and guess what? I gotta take it back apart. I forgot to put sealant between the block halves, so I'm not gonna make you watch that. I'm gonna take this back apart and then put the sealant on and put it back together, and we'll pick up after that.
5 minutes later.
All right, we got one piston assembly put together here. And what we're going to do now is drop this piston in the engine, because the safest place to store this stuff is in the engine. So let me grab some bearing shells, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe the cylinder walls down with automatic transmission fluid on a shop towel. These are clean, but we want them cleaner, and the ATF will kind of hang out in the hone ridges and provide some initial lubrication for the rings to seat in when we start it the first time. So let's get rolling with that. down to the last two pistons, and I thought I would point some stuff out that I hadn't before. Let's kill that mosquito. Looking down here, obviously the rings are sitting in there from the machine shop, but if you see that hole right there, not the big one, but the little one just above it, that's one of the oil squirters. So this thing's got oil squirters that spray the bottoms of the pistons with oil, keep the pistons cool, which is super cool. Just thought you might like to see that. Okay, well, we got the long block done. We wrapped it up here in plastic, so it doesn't make a mess on the floor, even though it's making a mess on the floor. We got about 3 weeks left before the heads show up, so stay tuned. We'll get that episode up when we get the heads.